Come on, you're really gonna hate on something like this?
Alright, what up guys? Today's one of those rare days where I'm not going to be working on a BMW or what have you. I'm going to work on one of my own bikes. In fact, the weirdest bike that I own. So what I got here is I don't know what year this is, 78 or 79, Yamaha Champ. A couple weird things about this bike. First off, this being a tiny little scooter from the 70s, it's a two-stroke, 50cc. But what's weird is, towards the back here, shaft drive. I don't know how common it is on those sorts of bikes. Shaft drive on a 50cc bike. It's kind of weird. Secondly, monoshock. There's only one shock. Not only that, single-sided swing arm. I used to have a Honda VFR 2007 Anniversary Edition. It was a really cool bike. Beautiful paint job. That had a single-sided swing arm. And that's what the sort of bike that I think of when I see a single-sided swing arm. And yet, this weird little banana-looking thing has one too. Anyways, you can probably tell I've torn this thing apart and made it into this weird little, I don't know. I made up these handlebars just using a bunch of random pieces from handlebars that I had lying in the shop. Just cut them up and stuck them together. I think they turned out pretty all right considering, not my best work, but this is not my best bike, so I think that'll suffice. Also made this weird seat pan out of this perforated metal, mostly because I can't figure out what to use all of that perf for, and I just wanted to get it out of here. All right, so what am I doing with this thing? First step is getting it running reliably. And to do that, I'm gonna take the original carburetor, which is this teensy little contraption, and put it where it belongs. Seriously though, this is so overcomplicated. It's got the normal two-stroke thing with oil injection like Yamaha likes to do, but it has this weird automatic choke where there's a number of vacuum ports all over the place on this thing. It's a whole thing, and it probably doesn't work properly, so I'm just going to remove it. So that's going to involve capping off a bunch of vacuum lines. I'm also going to do away with the oil injection and just do premix. Most people on the internet will say just keep the oil injection, but would you trust that? I do have a new carburetor. This is off of a Yamaha PW50, which is a bike that is still made today. It's a cheap knockoff version that I got for like $25 on eBay. But it came with throttle cable and an airbox and stuff, so I'm gonna see if it will work. All right, let's see what we got here. So that's as far as it goes, guys. This doesn't seem right. Okay. Why does that seem so incorrect? Okay, it's doing something. I mean, look at that. It's like halfway up. This is... Okay. We're gonna make a throttle cable to replace this garbage. It's gonna be a single pole. All right, what I have here is a cable kit from Venhill. I should be able to make basically any cable I need with this. I can make brake cables, clutch cables, throttle cables, choke cables. Although they'll probably tell you not to make brake cables, since if those break, you'll die. Let's see if I can piece something together that will make this pile of junk actually work. I'm going to measure roughly how long this cord needs to be, because it routed fairly nicely from where the carburetor goes down in here through here up to the handlebar. That length was pretty good as is, so I'm going to measure what we got here. Roughly speaking, obviously there's this 90-degree bend right about the 36-inch mark. So we'll add, another 2 inches or so, plus a little bit more, because you could tell that the slide in the carburetor was like halfway up. I'm sure as soon as I kickstarted the thing, it would just scream to the moon, which, while cool, wouldn't be very useful. Doesn't have to be super precise. It's like I said, I'm going to be kind of fine-tuning this as we go. So I went ahead and selected all of the parts and pieces that I'm going to need to build my cable. You can see the 2 silver cylinders here. Those are going to cap the end of our sheath, which is over here. I've yet to actually cut it. The 2 brass ones here in the middle, the one on the right is going to be the end that goes into the carburetor. The one on the left is going to go into the throttle housing. And finally, this piece here is going to screw into the throttle on this end. And that's going to give me some adjustability in the cable as it stretches over time. All right, let's start making something. I'll come over here to my tiny vise. I've got my cable in it, and you can see that the end is sticking out here, and I've kind of smushed it a little bit. The reason you do that is so that the ferrule on the end of the cable, that little bump thing, isn't going to slide off the other end. To smush it, it's pretty much really all you got to do. There is like a fancy tool, of course, that you can use to do that correctly, but it's really expensive, so I don't have one. All right, so here's my tiny ferrule. It slides onto the cable. Pull it through. There's my bird caged piece. You can see there. Just pull this in as tight as we can. Now the next step is solder. Next step is I'm going to be using this solder pot. You can see it's full of nasty goop. I got this off of Revival Cycles. You can get a solder pot anywhere online, but I figured I'd get it from Revival because they do cool stuff, and I like to support people that do cool stuff. If you think I do cool stuff, you can support me by subscribing. Anyway, put some gloves on for this step. This shit is nasty. Alright, step 1. Grab your bottle of poison. Open that up. Don't spill it everywhere. There's a cable at the end. I'm going to dip the part up to where the solder is going to flow. Don't go further than that. We've got our fluxed piece. We're only going to go as far as the end. Pull it out. That's all there is to it, really. You just hold it in there long enough for the solder to flow, and then you're good. Then it's worthwhile to wash that off to get rid of the flux because it's acidic. You can see I've laid out the housing here, just kind of measuring roughly how long it's going to be. So I'm going to cut it at 29 inches, maybe a little longer. We'll call it an even 30. And we'll trim it up as necessary. So again, you use those same cutters. And, take care to look at the end here. Yeah, take a look there because you can see there's a little spiral of metal in there and there's a plastic tube. You want to make sure that that plastic tube is nice and open for your cable to run through. All right, there's my little end, ferrule, cable, ferrule. You can see I've got a lot of extra material on this side. That's fine. It's going to get eaten up by all of the various bits and bobs here and here before making its way to the end of the throttle tube. Okay, I went ahead and put the whole cable together. Just mocking it up to see where things need to go. So we've got the spring and the slide in there. The spring is relaxed right now. This is essentially going to be at rest. All of my adjusters are going to be fully in except for this one, which is going to be like a turn or two out, just in case we make it too short. Right about here is where we're going to want to put our ferrules. So I'm going to make a little mark, and that'll tell me where to cut everything. And we'll get it soldered together and throw it on the bike. So this side is pretty much the same as the first, except you want to make sure that all of your attachments on the cable are on, because you're not going to be able to do it once the ferrule gets put on. Because obviously this little brass piece is not going to fit through any of this stuff. So again, you're going to bird cage the wires, you're going to feed the ferrule on first, then bird cage the wires, then you're going to feed it through the solder pot. I think I'll show you the solder pot again, but I won't show you the rest of it. The solder pot's cool, the others not so much. Alright, I hooked up the choke cable, figuring for our first start we would want that on there, but that is not going to be long enough. You can see how far down that goes. Yeah, there's no way that that's going to reach it, so $26 on eBay gets you a whole bunch of stuff that you don't need. At the very least, I did open up the carburetor and that looked alright inside, but we'll see if it has close enough jetting to actually run without the choke on. We'll find out. All right, y'all. I did some figuring and some investigating. I think I figured out what's going on with this little champ. If you recall, I wasn't able to get the choke cable on because it was too short. This is actually, I think, a piece of the original throttle cable. I'm just going to use it temporarily as a choke. And hopefully that will let this thing start. Feel along. Little choke. All right, Champ is alive. Ooh, it's. I don't think you'll be able to see on the camera, but it's smoky in here. Don't run two strokes indoors, folks. It's bad for your health. Cool. All right. It ran. I rode it, all 15 feet. If only we weren't pouring rain, I might actually get to rip this thing around. There's a little Kodak tower. I suppose I could bring it downstairs and rip it around in the loading dock. Should probably connect the brakes first. By the way, this is a K100 my buddy just picked up last weekend. I don't know if you remember that K75 that was in the shop back in February, but I don't know. I like the K bikes. I think they're pretty underrated for what they are. We also got this cool little guy. I share this workspace with some folks here in town, and so this is the new guy. It's got this cool old Honda XR or XL. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's old and it's a dirt bike, so I'm into it. Let's keep going. All right, it's the next day. Managed to get the Champ running pretty good. Figured out the choke thing, and that seemed to solve the issue. So I'm gonna make another choke cable, or try to modify the one that came with it so that it's actually long enough. We'll see if it works. But then I wanna put the intake on and then see if I can't ride it around the block or something. So I wanna use this old intake. This is the one that came on the bike. This is the one I got with the carburetor. You know, didn't really fit because of the weird shape. But I did manage to take the little foam insert. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Maybe in the light there. I stuck the foam into this one. Here's the little intake tube that came with the new one. But unfortunately it doesn't place that in the right spot. So I put the old intake in this. It's wintergreen oil. And it restores rubber. Kind of like resuscitates it, really, I guess. So this is one of those things where you should probably be wearing gloves because this is not good to get on your skin. Okay. Yeah, don't let this stuff get on your skin. It'd be a bad day. What's great about this wintergreen stuff is that it smells like, you know, spearmint gum. It's great. Anyway, yeah, it's a little softer. Not tremendously so, but let's see. There we go. The heat warming up a bit. Guess I could take the carburetor off and try to do this, but where's the fun in that? Nailed it. Well, I guess that white plastic piece was supposed to come off after that. So what I got here is the oil pump. This pulls oil somehow in here and shoots it around into the carburetor, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to take it off. I'm going to take off this gear and use this thing as like a plug, basically, because I'm getting rid of this oil injection. So what we'll probably do here, pull this off, pull the shaft out, make a plate to go there. There we go. Get that on camera. Cool. That can come off. That can come off. That can come out. A seal there that clearly wasn't really working. I'll use this really crappy old razor blade that needs to be changed. Scrape away the majority of the old gasket, and then I'll go back in with the Scotch-Brite. Obviously this thing is open to the crankcase, so after doing this, you'll have to be really thorough about cleaning out the inside of this so that none of this junk ends up destroying your motor. Probably use a flatter piece. Probably also not use a Sharpie for this. Oh. I just blew my nose out using a paper towel that I think had some wintergreen oil on it because, it's like I just snorted a pack of gum. Maybe not my best work, but I think it'll work just fine for what I'm trying to do here. I mean, honestly, that's really not too bad. Just shave it down over there, drill a couple of holes, and call it good. I mean, you should know that this level of care pales in comparison to the BMW project, which, if you haven't seen, is pretty cool. Check it out. All right, so my old oil pump housing, I'll pop in like this, I think. So then this piece, gonna go like that. Yeah, this is the kind of high quality custom work that you guys are tuning in for, I know. So I could make like a paper gasket to fit here. That would probably be prudent. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna use some black Permatex gasket maker, oil resistant after all. You want to use it sparingly so it doesn't like break apart and end up going where it's not supposed to. I got the carburetor in, I've got the intake on, I made a little mount, blocked off that oil pump. Yeah, I should be able to slap this thing together and go for a ride. I guess I should probably make that choke cable work. Because it's not exactly tenable. All right, let's do that. Here's my choke cable. As I said before, this was too short to go through that little brass nubbin thing, so I'm going to make it a little longer. You can see I stripped away the insulation on this outer cable housing. If you're going to cut this stuff, you probably want to remove the inner cable first, but I don't really care to. If I screw up, I can always just make another one of these. At that point, I'll just cut it off and make it even shorter. It doesn't matter where this choke cable goes. I have no idea how I'm going to get that off. Alright, whatever, I guess I'll make another one. Choke cable is in. I'll have to figure out where I'm going to put this. Maybe it just hangs out over here or something. I'm going to get the body back together. I'm going to tuck up all of this extra wiring that should go to the taillight. I'm not going to worry about for now because the sun's out. We're going to rip this thing. All right. I'm going to give it a shot with the GoPro. Probably not going to be able to hear much because of the waterproof case on this whole thing. But we'll give it a ride. I think she's ready to go. brakes work. Actually moving pretty fucking quick. Been done. Okay. Awesome. It went well. It ran great. Surprisingly fun too. I mean, it's not fast, don't get me wrong. I can Flintstone that thing faster than that, but I'm probably going around 30 miles an hour, maybe even more. I didn't realize this thing's actually a 2-speed. There's a transmission in it. You could hear that, you know, when the RPMs dropped, shifting into second gear, probably at like, what, 15 miles an hour or something. But, whew, that was a lot of fun. Oh, find my glasses. God, tiny bikes are a lot of fun. Not bad for like, you know, a couple afternoons work. Look at that, it doesn't leak. Ran great. Got it up to speed. Enough to the point where those little 10-inch wheels were a little scary. There's more that I want to do on this thing. Not a whole lot. You know, obviously I want to get the lighting working, because that would be important. Having ridden that, I actually do want to kind of inquire about registering this thing. So, you know, obviously for the price I paid for it, I don't have a title, but there is always that Vermont trick. Yeah, I really like how those bars came out. Cool little keychain. Yeah, this weird seat I made. Wasn't really that uncomfortable considering the time that I spent on it. Little taillight I've had kicking around for years, so finally found a place for it. Well, I only got 4 minutes left on this card, so I might as well wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you stick around for more. I'm getting back into the BMW real soon, I promise. Honestly, we're pretty close to the end of the BMW project. It's mainly just going to be assembly and wiring. I've got some stuff lined up. We'll be diving into this KZ440 hardtail at some point. I've got my another mini bike, a little CT70 over here in the corner. Don't mind the mess. I've got my Harley, which is a constant struggle in terms of keeping it running. My CX500 with, no joke, 39 original miles on it. And I've got a whole bunch of people that want me to do some work for them. So plenty of things to do. And I'd really appreciate it if you guys stuck around and followed. Subscribe, that's the word. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this weird detour that we went on today. I know I did. So later, champ.